Whether you're just starting out or well on your way as a professional writer, director, actor, or editor, I'd love to hear about the challenges that you're facing. I'm here to help. Learn from the mistakes that I've made. Let's locate your unique voice and bring it to the screen. These are my adventures in cinema, and I hope you enjoy them. The way I like to understand and look at music, it's changed so much since the time I started making films. In the beginning, when I used to think about music, it used to be about moods, creating a palette, a auditory sort of palette. Now I think about music in a slightly different way. Of course, it is that, undoubtedly, but that is again, like I said, that is the end result of the music, the mood. But as a filmmaker, I think one needs to think of music as in terms of being very much in harmony with the rest of the screenplay and with what cinema itself is supposed to do, which is move people emotionally. So music cues, like when does music start and stop in a movie, I like to now think about it in terms of the emotional landscape, if you like, soundscape of the film. And I think the navarasas from our Indian classical theatre is a really great way of getting into understanding how to talk to a composer in terms of how to explain to them what is it that is needed at a particular point in the film. So if you think about the 9 rasas, it's disgust, sadness, pathos, envy, fear, things like that. So these words that sort of a terror, and I liken directing a composer to directing actors, because what you want to do is you want to create a fertile ground for actors to come in and be in the moment to perform the actions that they're supposed to perform for that scene, and then leave the rest to their own creativity, talent, and improvisation. One of the things that I think music does beautifully, and it's one of the reasons why I make films, is the nostalgic element. I think in a separate little video I talked about where ideas come from, and the fact that for me, ideas come from a sense of nostalgia, a time either imagined or a time that has been passed, or that a time that I'm particularly connected to. There's a certain sense of nostalgia, and I try to capture that sense of nostalgia. For example, in the soundtrack of No Fathers in Kashmir, I try to capture that sense of nostalgia in the sound of a Kashmiri folk tune, which was then contemporized and had fabulous backing, and we made it into what you now hear as the soundtrack of the film, and it keeps repeating itself. And the same soundtrack played at different parts of the film, where the stakes are different for the characters, give all sorts of new emotions, produce a whole bunch of new emotions at that moment. And I love that. I love the idea of the same piece of music, the same piece of artifact being used in a slightly different way, gives you a completely different set of emotions. So that's the second sort of thing. The third thing, of course, is that I've had the privilege of being able to work with composers who've scored my films from beginning to end. I mean, on Forest, my very first feature film, we recorded the score at Abbey Road, with a 150-piece orchestra, which was just like the most ecstatic experience. And in No Fathers in Kashmir, I had the privilege of working with, Loic and Christoph, who, within very limited means and a very, very tiny little budget, produced a beautiful film score, so innovative and so rooted in the Kashmiri culture, and yet so effective in terms of what music should have done for the film.